Good evening and welcome to our 1-hour special segment. I'm Lulu Agaith. Join us today as we dive into the prestigious visit of the Sultan of Oman, His Majesty Haytham bin Tariq, to the state of Kuwait on a trip to further enhance the deep-rooted bond between the two stalwart nations. This relationship, steeped in history and mutual respect, continues to flourish across various domains, from trade and investment to education and beyond. During this special episode, I will be joined with my distinguished guest, Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi, Professor of Economics and Strategic Consultant, to cover all parts that will showcase the historic ties between the Sultanate of Oman and the state of Kuwait, the special visit of the Sultan of Oman to Kuwait and the economic aspects that would further progress the two nations. Before we explore the different aspects of the prestigious visit of the Sultan of Oman to the state of Kuwait, let's explore our first report as it showcases the Kuwaiti-Omani relations, which are deeply rooted in the memory of the two countries and the two brotherly peoples, as they have always been an example to be followed for the relations of the two countries. The Sultan of Oman was keen to strengthen and consolidate it in the last 5 decades, as these relations were not the result of a few decades ago, but rather go back to the history of the existence of its peoples many centuries ago, each in its own land and home, especially what is related to maritime trade relations, as they are also related in language, religion, history and family ties, as well as common interests. Here's more in the following report.
A state visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, the Sultan of the sisterly Sultanate of Oman, to the state of Kuwait. A significant milestone in strengthening the deep historical ties between the two nations, symbolizing the strong bond of brotherhood.
Relations between the brotherly nations went beyond mere decades. The Kuwaiti-Omani people had been intertwined in familial commercial relations for centuries. The current Sultan Haytham bin Tariq visited Kuwait on October 1st, 2020, to offer his condolences on the passing away of His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah. Sultan Haytham also visited Kuwait on June 18, 2023, to offer condolences over the death of the late Emir Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah. On the level of cooperation, Kuwait and Oman had a closely coordinated effort throughout their history, forming in 2001 a cooperation committee to hold regular meetings. Officials from both countries also exchanged regular visits to seek bolstering of cooperation and ways to coordinate stance on issues of importance. On March 11, 2023, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Salim Abdullah Al-Jabr Al-Sabah, headed Kuwait delegation to the 9th meeting of the Joint Kuwaiti-Omani Committee in Oman, holding discussions with Omani counterpart Badr Al-Busayri. Al-Busayri, on his part, visited Kuwait on November 16, 2023, where he held an official round of meetings with Sheikh Salim, signing on the occasion agreements in the fields of higher education, economy, environment protection, and industrial experts. Moreover, on the level of oil cooperation, the OQ8 trademark was launched on January 14, 2021 for the Duqm refinery in Oman, a venture amongst Kuwait Petroleum International.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi. He is the Professor of Economics. He's a Professor of Economics and Strategic Consultant. Dr. Salah, welcome to the evening's special coverage.
Welcome to you, and welcome to our viewers and our state guests.
Yes, that's right. Dr. Salah, the state of Kuwait and the Sultanate of Oman share a deep-rooted relations that go beyond the two nations. Can you please elaborate on the historic origins of the diplomatic relationship between Oman and Kuwait?
Well, if we look at the history, we can divide the two history into before and after the discovery of oil. Mm-hmm. Always, you know, the history relationship between Kuwait and Oman is based on a mutual respect between trades, religion, language, that extend a long, for a long period of time. Starting before, if I may, before the oil, I would say that there's, because of their both strategic location, you know, Oman has an access to the Arab Peninsula, which is the Arabian Gulf, and has the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, which give it a strategic location, has an access to the Far East Asia, and the other hand in the African. Mm-hmm. Where Kuwait in the old time, where the trade was basically on petals, dates, textile, where most of the the commodity, would say, comes from either India. So Kuwait used to use the Omani ports to sort of as a transit, to stop there and then head to India to do their transaction. But Kuwait and Oman share a lot in the old times of the trade. They trade dates, as I say, they trade textile, petals, and what we used to call nokhida, which is the captain of a ship.
All right.
They go there and they kind of deal with the petals. And Oman at that time was with Bahrain, of course, was a great market for that kind of commodity. On the other hand, if we look at maybe a little bit further down the road, when oil was discovered, you will see there's also mutual trade, like the Omani people were existed here in Kuwait, helping the Kuwaitis and were looking for jobs, and they were very common to see Omani citizen in Kuwait. So there was, the mutuality, solidarity between the two nations, as well as, we share the same religion, and we have the same common political, geopolitics, since we are in the same area, the same interest. So we share a lot in terms of the communality between the two nations.
Dr. Salah, the state of Kuwait and the Sultanate of Oman went through multiple political challenges that have entrenched their relations. How do such historical events influence the diplomatic relations between Oman and Kuwait over time?
Well, if we look at, if we go back to the liberation or the Independence Day of Kuwait in 1961, we have, at that time, Kuwait just has its Independence Day. The same thing if we look at Oman and the new, I would say, the new Omani era during 1970, the late Sultan Qaboos is starting, and that's where I would say there's a more of a relationship, you could say, it's been enhanced. Not to mention the great, stand of Oman during the invasion of Kuwait. The Gulf War, Oman, one of the GCC country condemned Iraq invasion into Kuwait, and they were a big help during the liberation day of Kuwait. So these, starting, of course, if we go back even where the GCC, the establishment of the GCC in 1983, I believe, or 81 or 83, yes. You will see there's a lot of similarity and there's a lot interest between the two nations in terms of politics, in terms of economics, in terms of social, environmental issue that both they deal with each other in either at the GCC summit or bilateral agreement between them.
Between the two countries. Dr. Salah, can you describe the image of the relationship between the State of Kuwait and the Sultanate of Oman in cooperation, and how did past agreements help in developing the two nations?
Well, there is lots of actual agreement. There is the joint establishment of a joint committee back in 2003. The committee was headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And since then, since that committee, there were, I believe, 34 forms and, or memorandum that was established. From defense to education to health. For example, I saw an interview of His Excellency Ambassador of Oman to Kuwait, talking about there's more than 200 Omani students here in Kuwait, distributed between Kuwait University, the Public Authority of Education and Training, and the Art and Music of the Institution of High Institution for Music and all. Also, Kuwait has, I was surprised, that Kuwait also have a student in
Oman. Dr. Salah, thank you for your insight. I just will be right back.
Okay.
We're going to live coverage, yes, sir.
Sure.
إذن أيها الإخوة والأخوات.
I'd like to welcome our guest, Hatem Al-Tai, Editor-in-Chief of Al-Ru'ya newspaper, all the way from Sultanate of Oman over the telephone. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Mr. Hatem, can you please tell us about the importance of His Majesty the Sultan of Oman's visit to the state of Kuwait?
Well, thank you first for having me this evening to speak on the very special occasion, the visit of the Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, Sultan of Oman, to His Highness the Amir Sheikh Mish'al Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, as they met actually 3 months ago in Oman during the opening of the Duqm refinery. That was a very, very impressive visit. And the importance of this visit actually is mainly the timing of it. As we know, the whole region is in very difficult situation because of the war against Gaza, and there is lots of very hot issues in the political arena. So there's need for lots of discussions and organization and unifying the opinions between Oman and Kuwait. And we see that is happening in the last few years, as Oman and Kuwait actually having lots of things in common, and lots of the political issues they have unified opinion about it. So again, this visit is very, very important, and we look forward to see the results of this important visit.
Mr. Hatem, can you tell us how important is the economic cooperation between Kuwait and the Sultanate of Oman?
Actually, there is a great cooperation between Oman and Kuwait in the economic relation and economic projects, as we witnessed one of the biggest investment or joint venture between Oman and Kuwait, which is the Duqm refinery in Oman, that is estimated about more than $9 billion, and that started actually production after a few years of construction, and it's one of the biggest investment in the last few years, I think, in all of the Middle East. Also, there is the petrochemical plant which is coming, and there are many, many other projects, whether in the real estate or whether in the hotel business or whether in other industries and services. Kuwaiti's investment in Oman, it's not a recent thing, but it's been happening for the last decades. So there is, we are also looking for signing more projects in this great visit. And I do think that there are great opportunities in both countries for investment, and it gives very, very good return. And I think it's for the benefit of both countries. Thank you.
Mr. Hatem Al-Ta'i, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Well, as we probe deeper into the Kuwait-Oman relations, it becomes evident that this partnership is built on a foundation of shared values and common aspirations. Whether it's strengthening economic ties or advancing educational opportunities, Kuwait and Oman stand shoulder to shoulder, united in their commitment to progress and prosperity. Joint consultation and coordination between the two countries regarding all issues of common interest and strengthening bilateral cooperation. In 2001, the two countries formed a joint committee that meets periodically and undertakes several tasks, the most important of which is increasing the volume of economic, commercial and tourism exchange between the two countries. Dr. Salah, how do Kuwait and Oman's economic diversification strategies align, and what opportunities do they present for mutual growth?
Well, if we look at the way that our economy is based on, looking at, let's say, both GDP, without going into numbers, even though Kuwait has about according to the IMF, 180 billion in their GDP, gross domestic product, $1 billion. However, mostly is based on the, I would say, the oil revenue. Okay. Therefore, both are elaborating on trying to have other income, instead of just oil. So there's the diversification away, not away just from the oil itself, but the income itself. Instead of taking the majority of their budget, they are going into more of other trade, as I mentioned. They are now lots of commodity you see from Oman into Kuwait. There's even grenades, like construction, which is we've never seen before in the Kuwaiti market. Therefore, they are trying to diversify their income, as I said. One of the main things that they have done, which is the Duqm refinery, which is between the OQ, which is Omani company, and the Kuwait, which is Kuwait or the Petrochemical International, KPI, which is a Kuwait, known by Kuwait. So they have a joint venture where they actually had about, I think it's about $9 billion worth of the refinery itself. Their target is to do a refinery because mostly they have a crude oil. So the crude oil between, if we look at the way that both countries they have the heavy crude oil, which is heavily hard to sell, and all the and you sell it for, let's say now, if we say that the oil at $80, the refinery, if you do all this, what we call all the like the diesel, the gasoline, and all that. From the crude oil, you can sell it for more. So they are trying to, enhance their budget through having more of refineries like in Duqm. And I believe they started with 230,000 barrels per day, reaching. Their reports were saying that they're going to reach up to 450 by 2025. And they could reach even more in the future. So what we're trying to do is, in that term, is to diversify their income and also to have a renewable energy where they could have this. Now we have seen here in Kuwait the solar energy and all that things, also trying to diversify their income.
So more green. We're talking about the Duqm. What role do special economic zones like a Duqm play in fostering economic cooperation between Kuwait and Oman?
Okay, well, Duqm started as, it has a unique and strategic location. It's basically, it's just, passing the Strait of Hormuz, meaning that it's facing the Arabian Sea or Indian Ocean and has an easy access to a huge market. It's a lot, which is, you're eliminating the risk. You're trying to eliminate some risk that you may face in transporting your main income into this country, your customers, which it says. Therefore, in Duqm, you are eliminating the risk of, going through the Strait of Hormuz, one. Second, you are refining, the crude oil. So you're not selling crude oil anymore. Not anymore. But you're not selling just crude oil. Also, Duqm is the free zone. There, the government is trying to attract foreign direct investment. So they have the free trade zone. And if I heard a report a couple of days ago, they're saying that if you have an investment, they will give you free of 2 years of rent. So if you are a private company that you're trying to go there to not just a free tax, but you get subsidies from the government. The government of Oman also, they have built a brand new actually airport. They have a huge port, for the transportation. Duqm refinery, I think, which is is the largest joint venture in the Middle East between two countries, from the 9 billion, and it's going to increase, which is 50-50 between Oman and Kuwait.
So by having things like these free economic zones, it just means that the product that is made can be sold faster. So it's just for the consumers. It's a lot faster. So it is very important.
It is very important, and when we say a free trade zone, also not just about taxes, but free trade zone, it's as you said, it's faster. You know, you come in, like the Kuwaiti crude oil, I believe 60% or 65% from Kuwait and 35% out of the crude oil from Oman. These are, you know, it's been transferred to Dugum refinery and it's been processed and then, you know, shipped to the standard of each country. For example, Europe, for if we talk about naphtha or jet fuel, they required a high, you know, quality of product, and Dugum will meet this qualification in terms of the quality of its product, like the jet fuel or the LPGs or all that product.
The specifications, they can do that and then take it out a lot faster.
Exactly.
Dr. Salah, can you tell me, what are the initiatives that have been undertaken to facilitate smoother trade and investment flows between Oman and Kuwait?
Well, there's a lot of actually memorandums. There's a lot starting in 2001, where the first joint committee has initiated. After that, as I mentioned, there was about 34 committee was created in terms of trade, in terms of you know, commerce. Also from the private sector, the Chamber of Commerce also has a, you know, elaborate on that, and they have a joint committee with Omani to smooth the trade between Kuwait and Oman. Looking under the umbrella of the GCC Council, we have a free trade zone, no taxes, treating the members of the GCC the same. So if you are a Kuwaiti citizen going to Oman, you will be treated as an Omani citizen. Same thing when they come in here. So there was a lot progress to sort of facilitate the trade of Kuwait and Oman. Not to forget the other trade, which is the social trade, like in education and health. You know, I believe about last month there was you know, a committee, joint committee between the Ministry of Health, Kuwait Ministry of Health, and the Omani College of Nursing, to exchange, you know, knowledge, to exchange staff, to exchange, you know, human capital, and that's a good progress for both countries. In terms of defense, it's always been there. There's always, you know, under either the umbrella of the GCC or direct, you know, direct, yes, bilateral meaning exactly. So there's always progress to sort of ease the trade between Kuwait and Oman.
Dr. if I may ask, can you share with us any specific sectors in which Oman and Kuwait are focusing their collaborative efforts to drive economic growth?
Well, there's if we take, for example, let's say the economic sector. So the economic sector is starting from the old times, like you know, with the basic commodities like food. You know, from rice to dates to all that. Now you'll see a lot textile. We have seen, and I mentioned, there's a construction more. So in terms of the economic, the Kuwait direct investment in 2023, last report I read, it was almost 922 million direct investment. The trade between Oman and Kuwait has increased since last year 300%. It's a lot when you look at the percentage. Maybe it's not a lot as when you trade with the U.S., Kuwait and the U.S., because there's a different trade. We don't, you know, it's not, we don't trade oil. That's why. But you trade commodity, you trade, you know, textiles, trade construction, food. Like right now, even during food, like if we go to, for example, co-op, Kuwait co-ops, you see Omani chicken. Not one kind, two, three kinds you can choose from, which is great things.
So we're diversifying in more than
Exactly.
one way. Well, Dr. Salah, I would just have, I'd like to welcome our second guest over the telephone. We have Dr. Abdulrahman Ali Al Hayyan, who is a specialist in modern and contemporary history. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Dr. Abdulrahman, I have a question I'd like to ask you. The relations between the two countries goes way back and involves various fields of cooperation. Can you please tell us more about that historic bond?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me today. In the name of Allah, we extend our warm welcome to the viewers and express our gratitude to Allah for ensuring the safety of Sultan Haytham of Oman during his honorable visit to Kuwait. We highly value and acknowledge Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmad for the gracious reception. The historical ties between Kuwait and Oman are deeply entrenched, dating back to the era of Sheikh Mubarak Al Kabir in 1899 AD and continuing to thrive in our present era under the leadership of Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmad. We have good relations with the Sultanate, and today Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmad, the Amir of Kuwait, was there to welcome them, indicating the depth of the historical Kuwaiti-Omani relations. Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmad embodied the strong and historical fraternal relations, as Kuwait and the sisterly Sultanate of Oman are connected through significant developmental achievements that both sister countries have accomplished in their ambitious cultural and civilizational path. Wishing His Highness Sultan Haytham good health and well-being, and for the sister Sultanate and its noble people further progress, prosperity, and advancement under the wise leadership.
Dr. Abdulrahman, can you please give us your thoughts on the importance of the Sultan of Oman's visit to the state of Kuwait?
The visit of Sultan Haytham of Oman also serves as a demonstration to us, highlighting the significance of his presence and its impact on the region. The profound and historical impact of his visit embodies the depth of Kuwaiti-Omani relations from all economic, social, political, and cultural aspects, highlighting the importance of visits between two friendly countries. This indicates that the relations between Kuwait and Oman are strong, robust, and deeply rooted throughout history. 2 days ago, Kuwait initiated celebrations to warmly welcome the Sultan of Oman, symbolizing the enduring bond and mutual respect between the two nations. The visit of Sultan Haytham of Oman to Kuwait is of great significance in the history of the region and will offer an opportunity for further collaboration and cooperation between the two countries, as observed during Sheikh Mishal's visit and the functioning of the Duqm refineries.
Dr. Abdulrahman, thank you very much for your time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the state of Kuwait and the Sultan of Oman not only share histories and brotherly ties, rather based on their good established relations, they have decided to further enhance their economic common interest. Kuwait and Oman have been working closely together to strengthen their economies through partnerships and investments. They see great opportunities for growth in projects they collaborated in. The Duqm refinery is a clear example of how they're teaming up to improve their relationship and create big economic gains. Here's more in the following report.
The state of Kuwait and the Sultanate of Oman's ties go beyond history, as their economic ties have long been characterized by mutual cooperation and strategic collaboration. Moreover, both nations have recognized the immense potential for economic growth through joint ventures and investment projects. Oman's Duqm refinery, a joint venture with Kuwait, is considered to be one of Gulf Arab Sultanate's most promising and significant investment projects, in addition to being the catalyst for an improvement in bilateral relations. The venture is expected to lure up more than $9 billion worth of foreign investment, is among the Middle East and North Africa's region's most sprawling oil facilities, while it should equip the global market with sublime oil-based products. The refinery is a state-of-art facility with the capacity to churn out some 230,000 barrels per day of renewable energy, according to Kuwait's Petroleum Corporation Chief Executive Shafi Al-Ajmi, citing hydrogen breakout technology as among the refinery's most notable features. Given its proximity to the Arabian Sea, the facility is seen as a window for adjacent markets and global shipping routes, as 73,000 multifaceted nature of the oil-based products there have already been shipped to various locations in the Middle East and beyond since operations started. Duqm Refinery and Petrochemicals Industries Company's chairman described the refinery as a transitional project and added that it would help boost economic cooperation between the two Gulf Arab neighbors, underscoring that the facility could pave the way for future economic projects in the region.
A state visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, the Sultan of the sisterly Sultanate of Oman, to the state of Kuwait. A significant milestone in strengthening the deep historical ties between the two nations, symbolizing the strong bond of brotherhood.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The economic ties between Kuwait and Oman have long been characterized by mutual cooperation and strategic collaboration. Both nations have recognized the immense potential for economic growth through joint ventures and investment projects. We have with us via telephone our third guest for today, Mr. Jamal Al-Asmi. He is the CEO of Realty CG, to highlight different tides that both nations went through to reach their economic goals and elevate their status around the globe. Hello, Mr. Jamal. Can you please highlight any recent trade deals or investment projects between Oman and Kuwait that are poised to strengthen their economic ties?
Thank you very, very much for having me on today. It's a privilege to join you and to be able to share some insights on this auspicious occasion that marks yet another milestone for the two nations. I like to think of Oman and Kuwait's relationship more like a brotherhood than a partnership. And this brotherhood stems back millennia. Imagine Kuwaiti trade ships setting sail from Oman's ports to the rest of the world. But there's more to the world than just capitalism. And although these ships were honestly trade ships and they were carrying goods, the ties that were forged between Kuwait and Oman were more than just economic. They were social, they were cultural, and they were historical. And these relationships still carry on today. Perhaps the biggest example of a project which shows the huge commitment between these two nations would be the Duqm Refinery project, which has nearly doubled Oman's oil refining capacity to around 500,000 barrels per day. It's not just any other project, it's a $9 billion collaboration, and it's in the heart of the special economic zone at Duqm, which we call CZAD, and it's already producing, which marks honestly a new chapter in our shared story, and one that really promises to enrich both of our nations. Just last year, Kuwait sent goods worth nearly $400 million to Oman, and that's no small feat. It highlights a really dynamic trade relationship. As far as industries are concerned, whilst Kuwait and Oman both shine in terms of oil and gas, Kuwait has a very strong offering when it comes to financial services and construction, whilst Oman complements that with strides in tourism, mining, and agriculture and fisheries. So there's this sort of unique blend of strengths, which really serves both economies.
Sir, in what way do the economies of Oman and Kuwait complement each other, and how do they leverage this synergy for mutual benefit?
Well, you're certainly right. Both Oman and Kuwait remain firm-footed about being nations of peace and prosperity, and these are timeless qualities, and I think the world more than ever before is recognizing how important these attributes are. We have a shared vision, and the two nations have stood side by side regarding both regional and international challenges. Just go back to 1990, the invasion of Kuwait. Oman was unequivocal when it came to supporting Kuwait, and it's just a sincere reflection of that brotherhood. So our cooperation arguably extends to larger economic collaborations or more significant investments, but also there's this continuous cultural and educational exchange between the two nations, and I think it enriches both countries. I think it arguably fosters a shared identity and potentially even a shared purpose. And I think this is good for the Gulf Cooperation Council's framework.
Well, Mr. Jamal Asmi, thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, the state visit by the Sultan of Oman to Kuwait adds another milestone to the historic ties, as the last visit by His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmad al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, to Muscat ushered a new era in relations through the exchange of top state honours between His Highness the Emir and His Majesty the Sultan of Oman. Here's more in the following report.
After the historic visit of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmad al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, to the Sultanate of Oman on the 6th of last February, the visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq al-Mu'azzam, the Sultan of Oman, to the state of Kuwait comes as confirmation of the keenness of the leadership of the two brotherly countries to strengthen their relations, history, and consolidating its ties. The visit of His Highness the Emir to Muscat inaugurated a new phase of close relations between the two brotherly countries, where he held talks with His Majesty the Sultan of Oman, in which a friendly atmosphere prevailed, reflecting the spirit of brotherhood and the common desire for more cooperation and coordination at all levels. The visit of His Highness the Emir was marked by an official and popular celebration, embodied in the reception of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq al-Mu'azzam, who awarded His Highness a Saeed Medal, which is considered one of the highest Omani decorations, in appreciation and pride in the depth of bonds of brotherhood and the strong friendship that brings together the two brotherly countries and peoples. On the other hand, His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmad al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, also awarded His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq al-Mu'azzam Mubarak al-Kabir Medal in appreciation of His Majesty and the distinguished achievements and efforts he has made for the Sultanate of Oman and its brotherly people, and in appreciation of his role in strengthening the bonds of brotherhood and understanding between the GCC countries. Meanwhile, the visit between the two countries by officials from the executive and legislative branches have not stopped over the past decades, while the two countries have recently witnessed exchange of visits by officials from both sides with the aim of strengthening cooperation and coordinating joint efforts.
A state visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Saeed, the Sultan of the sisterly Sultanate of Oman, to the state of Kuwait. A significant milestone in strengthening the deep historical ties between the two nations, symbolizing the strong bond of brotherhood.
During the session of discussions conducted by His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmad al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, in his recent visit to the Sultan of Oman, the process of close and solid fraternal relations linking the two nations and various aspects of existing bilateral cooperation between them were reviewed in a way that achieves more of their common aspirations towards development and prosperity. Dr. Salah, discussions during His Highness the Emir's visit to Oman also dealt with the pursuit of more partnership to expand frameworks of action to support and strengthen the progress. The Gulf Cooperation Council, can you elaborate on the most prominent issues of common interest in light of the latest events and developments taking place on the regional and international arenas?
Well, during the visit, there's a lot talk and more collaboration in terms of either economics, energy. If we look at the energy, Kuwait, in the process of buying electricity from Oman, and so that's that's by itself it's a huge collaboration between them, and also in terms of securities. Looking at the geopolitics in the area, if we look at the issue in the Red Sea and how it's the problem crossing the ships and that. His visit actually, it was a great opportunity to more collaboration in economics. And for example, they attended both His Majesty Sultan Haytham and Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed, peace be upon them, bless them, both. The inauguration of Duqm, it was a great opportunity because the Duqm itself, it's not only the refinery, there's also a continuation to it if we add the petrochemical plant, which is add up to both as 15 billion in both between both Oman and Kuwait. So there is more of a friendship, brotherhood visit, plus commercial, trade, economics and politics involved in the visit.
Before we conclude this episode, Dr. Salah, can you share with us some key outcomes you expect from the visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to the state of Kuwait?
To be honest, with the political issues, I would, definitely will see a talk about Gaza issues and the aid and humanitarian to the Palestinian people. So that will be definitely an agenda we'll be talking about. Talking about more trade, talking about more collaboration between the two countries. If we look at, for example, the tourism, now it's been increased. Last report, there was 40,000 Kuwaiti visited Oman in 2023. Maybe it's not a big number, but it's much bigger than the 2022. 2022 was only 28,000. So you're talking about a huge number increase. So his visit will be dealt with, as I mentioned, politics, more economics, collaboration. The people of Kuwait and the people of Oman there is a special tie, of course, between the whole GCC area. But if you travel to Oman and see how humble is their people, you can touch their friendship and love and these peaceful people. So we welcome His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to Kuwait, and we hope to see fruitful from this and from his visit to Kuwait.
Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, we had with us today Dr. Salah Al-Hamadi. He's a professor of economics and a strategic consultant. Thank you very much for joining us on our special episode and for elaborating on all aspects of the Sultan of Oman's visit to the state of Kuwait.
Thank you very much.
a state visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, the Sultan of the sisterly Sultanate of Oman, to the state of Kuwait. A significant milestone in strengthening the deep historical ties between the two nations, symbolizing the strong bond of brotherhood.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our in-depth exploration of the enduring bond shared by the State of Kuwait and the Sultan of Oman, it becomes abundantly clear that this relationship transcends mere diplomacy. It's a testament to the power of brotherhood, cooperation and shared futuristic vision. From the two nations' rich historical ties to the dynamic exchanges in trade, investment and education, Kuwait and Oman stand as shining examples of solidarity and mutual respect in the Gulf region. Thank you, dear viewers, for your tuning in on our special episode. We hope to see you soon.